Hi, Ed here, and we're here with Ttoal War Warhammer 2, and, well, why don't you introduce yourself for everyone?
Sure, my name's Andy Hall, I'm the lead writer on Ttoal War Warhammer 2.
And Ttoal War Warhammer 2, it obviously has a story. The game itself, what is the story behind the game?
Well, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but basically the premise is you have your 4 races, and each race gets an individual story, but not interfering with the sandbox gameplay that Ttoal War is so well known for. Effectively, the overarching plot is something's gone wrong with the Great Vortex, which is this big swirly plug hole in the middle of the High Elf realm, which drains all the access magic out of the world. If it wasn't there, there'd be demons all over the place. So this is stood staunchly sucking out all this access chaos energy for the past 5 millennia. But something's happened and it's gone wrong, and it's left the vortex vulnerable. So if you're like the High Elves or the Lizardmen, you want to try and protect the status quo. If you're like the Skaven or the Dark Elves, there's an opportunity there.
Mm-hmm. And regarding that, the High Elves and the Skaven obviously haven't been seen in Ttoal War Warhammer before. I was always going to get that wrong at some point during this.
Feel free to call it that. Most people do.
So they've obviously not been seen in this game before. They're new races, am I right?
Yeah, well, all 4 races are actually new. The Lizardmen, the High Elves, the Dark Elves, and the Skaven, they're all brand new races. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I was just going to ask, so what defines these races as different from the races in the first Ttoal War Warhammer?
Well, something we got plaudits for in Total War was the way each race played very differently.
Yeah.
And so we kind of took that baton and really ran with it and pushed that envelope, to throw yet another analogy there, into making all these races play very differently. The Skaven, for instance, the AI can't see your settlements, they just see them as ruins. This allows you to build your settlements really close to the enemy and then kind of spring out from them. The High Elves gain this kind of secondary currency called influence, and they can use that to alter diplomatic relations, because they're very kind of, they've got spies everywhere and stuff like that. And they kind of play a House of Cards type game, not only with themselves but with other races, and playing with the balance of power like that. The Dark Elves have Black Arcs, which are these big kind of fortress ships which are a mobile settlement, which is a Total War first, and can fire bombardments into battles if they're close by. And the Lizardmen, they have the Geomantic Web, which is kind of their big astral ley lines of power. And if you can connect the dots, so to speak, with your cities, that gives you these bonuses via the commandment system.
And with all those races that you've got coming in, it sounds like you've, like you said, pushed the envelope. It seems like all those races have gone to more extremes, of much more, vastly more different than the races were in the first Total War. It feels like they've gone to greater extremities. Is that a fair assumption to make?
I think that is a fair assumption, and I think there's 2 reasons for that. Firstly, obviously this is their second round, so to speak, the second game in their trilogy. So I suppose we're feeling a bit more confident about that we can do that. And secondly, the races themselves have kind of have brought that along with them. Yeah. So with Total War 1, we have the Empire, which are men, so obviously they share a value set with us, albeit in a fantasy setting. Dwarfs, you know, we tweaked them with grudges and stuff like that. But with the Skaven, you know, they're not just furry men. They have a completely alien outlook to us, and we try and represent that in the game. The fact they're all little backstabbing bomb villains, and they're all trying to get one over on each other. The Lizardmen, the dinosaurs that ride dinosaurs with Aztec space lasers. So, you know, we've got to get all that kind of crazy kind of stuff in, and they're watching the stars and trying to live their lives by how they interpret this great plan. And
in terms of that, how did you end up going about picking the races that you were going to go with this time round? And was there any temptation just to roll back and have, say, humans as an easy entry for players into the second one?
No, there was no temptation there. I think we pretty much, just like the first one, we kind of defined the races by the geography of the map we were on. So in the old world with Warhammer 1, obviously we had to have the Empire, and living next to them with the vampires and the dwarfs. So here in the new world, obviously we couldn't do Lustria without the Lizardmen. We couldn't do Ulfwan without the elves, and we couldn't, and Nagoroth without the dark elves. And the Skaven, I think we may have been lynched if we'd left them out any longer.
And so it sounds like you've managed to stick to the lore fairly well in terms of that, how much emphasis and how much time you take on writing in Warhammer lore into the game.
Well, for me, it's because I worked at Games Workshop for over a decade, so I kind of know the stuff.
Yeah.
And so, you know, for me, it's just as easy as writing anything, I suppose. What we're trying to do, we're not trying to kind of remake the wheel here.
Yeah.
We're not saying that orcs and goblins have to be blue or dwarfs should have beards. We want to represent the world as faithfully as we can.
Yeah.
Just like if we were doing a historical game in Rome, we wanted to kind of represent Rome as historically as we can.
Yeah.
This historical title just happens to be in a fictional universe.
And is it your job to keep an eye on continuity then? If someone comes up with let's have this item here, let's have Skaven riding a
dinosaur.
Yes, exactly.
yeah, and I've had to put my foot down several times. You know, not everyone's as into Warhammer as me, and some of the guys get crazy ideas. I have to say no. You know, a foot of Gork needs to be like a giant orc with a big foot stamping down, or something like that. But you know, again, most people, in fact, everyone at CA wants to just do the Warhammer world justice.
Yeah, indeed. And talking about the Warhammer world, obviously this is like you said, it's a new part of the world that you go into. Got new races, new environment. What else are you throwing in that's new to the game that players might not have seen before in the first one?
So this time we've got like match animations for all the big monsters, which is kind of new.
Yeah.
In fact, that wasn't even scoped in the game. It's just our animators got kind of so into it, they just started staying behind late after work to do this really cool stuff. A great example is a kind of Skaven Hellpit Abomination doing wrestling moves on the dinosaur, on the Carnosaur. So we've got stuff like that. We've got dragons that can now attack from the air, and that's something we're retrofitting back into Warhammer 1 as well.
That's really cool.
And obviously we've got new spells. We've got the whole Vortex mechanic system.
Indeed.
We've got rights, which are kind of campaign level spells. As well. You know, there's just loads more stuff, and obviously more of an emphasis on narrative as well. We've got movies this time, which I know was like a big ask from Warhammer 1. People wanted victory movies. So not only have you got victory movies, you've got movies for every ritual. So in fact, if you stitch it all together, you get like a 25-minute feature per race. So for someone that's kind of into the lore, to have this kind of almost animated feature, hopefully they'll like it.
And just hopefully a couple more questions.
Sure.
So you said about the war, and clearly it seems like there's a lot more story involved in this game. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And in terms of that, is it difficult to balance bringing that into the game for a game that's traditionally been very sandbox orientated?
Yeah, I think that has been a challenge, and we definitely don't want to put the players on rails. We still want them to have their story. But we want it to feel like they're taking part in one of these big kind of story-based novels or a comic crossover. But still have their own story, you know, still conquer the bits of the world they want to, and in fact how you accrue the ritual currency, which kind of casts the ritual, which then kind of triggers the story. How you actually get to that place is totally up to you.
Okay, that's great. Well, rather than take up any more of your time, what I'll ask is, when is Ttoal War Warhammer
out? September the 28th.
And what platforms can we get that on?
It's a PC game.
So you can get it on PC?
Yes.
Other than that, thank you very much for your time, and hopefully we'll see some more Ttoal War Warhammer 2 and the Skaven to come.
Yeah, you will.
Thanks a lot.
See ya. Bye-bye.